Hiya! So today I thought maybe we'd make a cake. Yeah, everyone loves a bit of cake. And I thought we'd do a sort of celebration cake, you know, for any birthdays or wedding anniversaries or bar mitzvahs or just a casual Wednesday, you know, just to celebrate getting through a month without killing anyone, you know, no judgment. So I decided we'd go for a chocolate fudge cake, pure indulgence. So for that we obviously need some chocolate. So in here, Great Grounds bain-marie, I have the chocolate and the butter, which I am going to set to melt. So while that's melting, I'm going to line my tins. So I've gone for a 20 centimetre. These both look sort of even, so let's hope so. And I just have a butter packet that I use to grease them. And then I'm going to line them with parchment. There we go. Lovely. So I've got my parchment that I folded in half and drew my circle on because you need two discs because there are two tins. So next, we should start making some cake batter. So here in my bowl of all things dry ingredients. So, and I've just whacked them all in. I've got flour, I've got brown sugar, I've got white sugar, I've got some cocoa powder, and I've got baking powder and bicarb to give it that extra boost because chocolate can be quite a heavy ingredient, so it needs an extra bit of lift. And some salt. So I'm going to whisk those together in my lovely vintage Kenwood, but you can do it by hand or with your electric whisk or however you fancy. And to that, I'm going to be adding this mix, which is the eggs, and you can use anything that you might have available. I've gone with sour cream because I had some in the fridge. But buttermilk or yoghurt or just plain milk will also work to be your wet ingredients. So I'm going to slowly add that into here and whisk it about. And then when our chocolate and butter mix is melted, I'll also add that in. And there we go, Bob's your uncle. So here we have our lovely cake batter. So it looks delumptuous. So that was just whisking all the dry ingredients together, adding our milk, cream, yoghurt and eggs, and then our melted chocolate and butter. And also to our chocolate, I did add a shot of strong coffee. This just helps really boost the chocolate flavour. So you can use whatever you've got. If it's like instant or fancy, you know, you just want it to be a shot of strong coffee. Okay, so I'm going to divide that between the two tins. Just roughly by eye. So this will go in the oven at around 175 to 180 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. So I'll probably put it in for about 15 and then jiggle them round just to make sure they get an even bake. And then they'll be done. How exciting, chocolate spongy goodness. Okay, so our cake's come out the oven, it's looking lovely. So we now go to our icing, which is sort of like a ganache. So in this pan, I have just warmed up some cream, some brown sugar, and a bit of golden syrup and treacle, all the delightful things. So I'm going to take this mix and pour it over our chocolate, okay? If it's too hot, the chocolate won't like it. So I'm just going to leave that for a moment and then I'll start whisking it. So with my sponge here, I took it out the oven when a knife or skewer comes out clean. And then I did just give it a quick trim. I must say I'm not the best at getting anything straight, so usually if you were to be really fussy about it, all my cakes are probably wonky. But I think it adds character. Okay, so if we go back over to this, I think that's had a bit of time to work some magic. So I'm just going to start whisking it, just from the inside, just trying to get all that sort of creamy, caramelly goodness to melt our chocolate. Make sure there are no lumps. So that's looking really smooth and glossy. If at this point maybe you had taken it a bit far and it was a bit hot and it was looking a bit lumpy bumpy and sort of starting to begin to split, it's always worth just adding a bit of cold cream to it to adjust the temperature, and that might sort out your problem. Or you might have completely messed it up and might have to start again, but that's okay because we're all learning. Okay, so as you can see there, that's a really smooth, glossy ganache. Whoa. But so I'm just going to leave it to cool down so it's more of a spreading consistency. Okay, so I've sandwiched them together just with a bit of our ganache icing. If you wanted, you could also maybe whip some cream up and put that in as well. And perhaps a roasted cherry would be quite a nice thing, I think. You know, or anything you fancy. So now I'm going to tip this on top. There we go, a nice big blob of it, and then just edge it out to the sides where it will come down, and then I'll smooth it with my palette knife. So I thought we could decorate with a few floral garnishes. I would also usually maybe use some fruit, but there's not much fruit in season at the moment. And I don't think chocolate and rhubarb go particularly well together. But when we suddenly do hit our peak fruit season, then you've got all the possibilities of every different berry you could imagine. But for now, I'm just going to go with some flowers that we're going to have to go forage from my parents' garden. If, unlike me, you don't have an in-house horticulturalist, it is best to just double check that anything you do choose to use isn't deadly poisonous, because that's probably not such a good idea. So I've edged that down the sides, and then I just use my palette knife to spread it out nicely. Oh, missed a bit. There we go. Otherwise, I've got that all the way around. So I'm just going to leave that for a moment, and then I can add another layer if I'd like. Lovely, nice and smooth. Lovely, yes, so I think I'll come back to that and add a bit more. But now for foraging!
Tiptoe by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Oh, tiptoe by the garden of the willow tree. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Lady.
Okay, so after our very fruitful forage in the garden, obviously we don't want to take too much, we don't want to empty the place out. So I've gone for a selection here. I've got a lovely tulip, I've got some alkanet, which has got a lovely blue flower, I've got some wallflowers, a nice sort of purpley red tone, some forget-me-nots, some pansy viola types, a beautiful bit of quince blossom I saw there, and some apple blossom. So, I mean, some people do ask me if I really have a plan with these things, but I never really do. I sort of just see what looks good, really. It's what my pal Fred calls organised chaos is my style, because it looks like I don't know what I'm doing, but I really do. So what I think we're going to start with is sort of the bigger bits, to put in, and you just want to make sure there's no little buggy friends in there, although, you know, extra protein, I guess, but not ideal. So I think this is just such a beautiful bunch, we might just keep it as it is. So I put my extra ganache on and just sort of swirled it about because we want it to be, you know, sort of the best bit. So we want there to be lots of it. So I'm just going to plonk it on, basically. Got to start somewhere. Lovely. And then, yeah, and then you can create some sort of pattern if you like, or do something a bit more structured or simple. I'm going to put that in there, and then I think it's always important to have a bit of foliage and leafiness, I think, because that can just sort of appear from places. I've also got, I dehydrated some orange slices, which is really easy. I just put them in the oven at a super low temperature until they were dried out. So I might use some of those as well, because they're always quite fun. And yeah, I mean, just have a nice play with it. I mean, this is always sort of my favourite part, and usually because I'm quite disorganised, it's always the most rushed part. But it always comes together in the end. Yeah, so I'm just gonna pop some bits on really. So you do you, and I think that's a very suitable, delightful festivity, celebration, extravaganza, really. I'm just going to carry on playing and putting some bits on it. But the recipe is below, and if you have any questions or queries, or you know, you want to send me a photo of your beautiful creations, I'd love to see it, you know, not doing much else. Lovely, all right, toodaloo.